Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? I am back, and I am more ready than I've ever been to record a podcast. I've been waiting for this one. This is going to be a fiery one. I am not holding any punches, and I'm going to dive right in. Again, this is Frankie Vitz here. If you don't follow me on Twitter, it's at Frankie Vitz. If you haven't downloaded the sports app that I'm part of, at U Stadium, please download it and win some money on your NFL and general sports takes. With that being said, let's dive right into it. Again, unscripted, unfiltered, although today I'll be a little bit more scripted because I want to read off some player names. I don't want to forget anyone. But I'm going to dive into a few topics. Topic number one is Joe D. I'm going to tell you why he's a good GM. I'm not going to say he's the best GM ever. I'm not going to say he's even excellent. It's not perfect. But I'm going to tell you why he's good. But let's just start right off the bat. Joe Douglas is a good GM. Where am I basing that off of? Well, what I do sometimes is I'll go in and I'll research what other GMs in the NFL have done. I'll research what Brett Veach in Kansas City has done. I'll research how Les Snead turned that Rams roster into a Super Bowl winning roster, and they continuously win big games. I'll then look at a better GM than Joe Douglas, Howie Roseman, and how much better what were the things Howie Roseman did versus what Joe Douglas has done. I'm going to compare Joe Douglas to his contemporaries. I'm going to compare him to somebody like Nick Caserio, who, before C.J. Stroud got there, do you all know Nick Caserio was 7-26-1? Do we realize that? Nick Caserio, the golden child GM right now that everybody loves, was 7-26-1. Why? What happened after those 2 years that Caserio had? He found himself with a real second overall pick quarterback in C.J. Stroud, who makes everything better. You know, it's like when you go to a family party and you maybe drank a little bit the night before and you really, you might not be in the mood to see anybody, but then all of a sudden your favorite cousin's there. Who shout outs to my cousin Anthony and Mike, love them both. But I see Anthony there and I get happy. And then I get reinvigorated. And then I start boozing at the party with my family. And we have a grand old time when Anthony's there, when your favorite cousin's there. It's the same thing with GMing. If you don't have that quarterback that's able to run the show and able to make your moves look good, you're not going to look good. Okay? You have to buy the right clothes to look good. You have to have the right chef to make your ingredients taste good. Joe Douglas has had an unfortunate situation, which he is part of. Why I'm saying he's good, not the best, because he got us Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson, since he's been here, has not worked out. I've spoken enough about Zach on the podcast. I'm not going to get into it. But if you don't have the quarterback, it doesn't make your pieces look good. Now, let me give you Joe Douglas's pieces that he's brought into this team and just the level of talent and the productivity that these pieces have brought us. I'll go through the drafts. He's drafted Sauce Gardner, Defensive Rookie of the Year, one of the best corners in football. He's drafted Garrett Wilson, Offensive Rookie of the Year, one of the best young wide receivers in football. He's drafted Breece Hall, one of the best young running backs in football, who would have also won Offensive Rookie of the Year if he didn't get hurt. I don't know if they could have done a duo. They could have maybe gave it to Garrett and Breece, right? So, he doesn't do anything for the offense. He just drafted the two best rookie offensive players last year. But no, he doesn't know anything about offense. AVT, right? AVT, the pick he got, one of the picks he got for Jamal Adams, and he traded 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams. Do we realize that? You couldn't trade 2 first-round picks now. You might have trouble getting TJ Watt for 2 first-round picks now. And he got 2 first-rounders for Jamal Adams, one of which he turned into AVT. And I'll guarantee you this. I will guarantee anything on this. If AVT doesn't get hurt last year, we might have made a run at the playoffs. And if AVT didn't get hurt this year, we may have been in the playoff convo also. AVT is the leader of that O-line, drafted by Joe Douglas. He's also drafted Jermaine Johnson, who's becoming a very productive end for us. He drafted Joe Tippmann, who's startable, got some ways to go, but is a startable asset on the O-line. Jeremy Ruckert, drafted by Joe D, another asset at the tight end position. Not every pick is going to be great, by the way, guys. Not every pick is going to be a Pro Bowler or someone that is going to be above average starting. Look at any GM. I looked at Les Snead's record before. He's had a lot of misses. I've looked at Howie Roseman drafting Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. I've looked at Clyde Edwards-Helaire being drafted by Brett Veach. I've looked at these things. The records are the records. Nobody is perfect. Nobody has a perfect record as a GM. It's not going to happen. Guys are going to not work out when you're the GM. You have 270 picks in a draft. Not every pick is going to work out. On average, you have around 15 to 20 Pro Bowlers each draft. What, you want your team to have them all? There's 30 other teams, 32 other teams in the NFL. You're competing against everybody. Joe Douglas, not only the people that he's drafted have turned out to be productive, hasn't been perfect, but have been productive. He signed DJ Reed. DJ Reed's one of the best corners in football. Not a great time to bring him up due to the fact that he got toasted by Jalen Waddle, but he got us DJ Reed. He also signed, or claimed rather, Quincy Williams, a top 5 middle linebacker in football. He claimed Quincy. He also claimed JFM, who's a really productive D-end. I went through the fact that he traded 2 1s for Jamal Adams. And then when he made mistakes in drafts, when he drafted Elijah Moore in the second round, he didn't feel like he was worthy here. And he got a third back for Elijah, got some value. Sammy Darnold, our favorite quarterback in the last 10 years. He wanted Sam out of here. So did Sam. And what did he get? He got a 2nd, a 4th, and a 6th for Sam Darnold. Getting value back for your mistakes, which is something Joe Douglas does. He works. The moves he makes shows me that he is a grinder. You want to succeed in the world? You might not have all the talent in the world. You know what you got to do? You got to put your damn head down and grind. You got to go through the analytics. You got to go through the numbers. You got to go through your schedule. You got to go through the time that you're spending and wasting at the bar or going out late at night and then waking up late. And then you're wondering where the time goes. Trust me, been there, done that. Still sometimes do that, unfortunately. Hey, it's part of the game. It's part of life. Joe Douglas works. And that's the one thing I will never, ever rip him for is his work ethic. Why? Because he's getting value for his mistakes. And a lot of GMs, go look it up, don't make as many moves as he does. Yes, is he a little bit of a penny pincher? For sure. But when you are playing well in his system or on his team, he will reward you like he did with Quinnen. He's going to reward you if you produce. Also, people say, oh, Joe Douglas helped hire Robert Saleh. Yeah, he did. He was crucial in that. We also got off of Adam Gase. He helped replace Adam Gase. So I guess that's a win, I would say. Saleh hasn't been perfect. But again, you got to try what you got to try. Saleh was a very highly touted coaching candidate coming out. He had 6 to 7 other teams that wanted him. And the biggest thing Joe Douglas did, out of everything I just said, out of all the stuff you might agree or disagree with, the one thing he did, he lured the biggest fish in the pond to want to come here and lead the ship. And who's that big fish? The biggest of the big? Aaron Rodgers. Super Bowl winner Aaron Rodgers decided that this roster was good enough that he wanted to come here to win a Super Bowl. And us not being relevant in 13 years, in more than 13 years, but us not being relevant for that long, and then having the opportunity and having sports books and having media pundits and having the entire world, NFL world, think of us as being a Super Bowl contender, how does that now fall on the GM? Who the hell are we as Jeff fans to want to criticize someone that actually gave us hope of winning a Super Bowl? If Aaron Rodgers didn't come here, what hope would we have? Well, we're going to keep rebuilding. We're just going to keep rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding, and nothing's going to happen. But at least with Aaron Rodgers coming here, believing in the roster that Joe Douglas put together, we had finally the hopes and aspirations as a battered fan base of maybe winning a Super Bowl. And newsflash, that's still here next year. that's still here. So all this hate for Joe D, I get the bad picks in the late rounds with some of these offensive linemen that might or might not work out. That's still up for debate. I understand things that he's done. I get the 2020 draft was epically bad, and it was a really bad draft. But 2022 made up for 2020. And other pieces that he's brought in that we don't even value, that people don't even talk about. You take a guy like Jordan Whitehead, signed by Joe Douglas. Jordan Whitehead this year might have over 100 total tackles on the year, has 4 interceptions starting at safety for us. Joe Douglas is doing what he can. If you look at the Jets depth chart, 80% of it is things from Joe Douglas, are players that he's paid, he's drafted, he's signed, he's claimed. Yes, I understand we're not good. We're 5-9 at this point, recording on December 22nd. But that happened because of the Aaron Rodgers injury. And that's my next thing that I want to get into. When Aaron Rodgers went down, we knew that this season was going to be a wash. Why? Nate Hackett is one of the worst offensive coordinators in football. Except with Aaron Rodgers, they get how to work with each other. With Aaron Rodgers, they know what they want to do. With Aaron Rodgers, everything is different because Nate Hackett gives Rodgers 3 or 4 plays to pick at the line, and Rodgers is so good at pre-snap reads, right? Isn't that something, a quarterback being that good at pre-snap reads? Where Rodgers is able to look at the defense, to call out who might be blitzing, to call out the Mike and the Will, to be able to work with the center as to where they might need a slide protection or what they may need to call so that you don't get sacked, so that you could effectively have a first down on a 1st and 10. Wouldn't that be nice, right? I don't remember the last time the Jets on a 1st and 10 have just had a first down and the chains keep moving. It's always 2nd and 8, 2nd and 5 if we're lucky. Rodgers is able to work with Nate Hackett. When that disappeared because Rodgers went down, we ended up with Nate Hackett, one of the worst OCs in the game, but he's not a bad OC with Aaron because Aaron's running the show and they get each other. Then we have one of the bottom tier head coaches in terms of figuring out offense in Robert Saleh. He's a defensive coordinator, so you have them two leading right now on the offensive end, and you give the keys to Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's done here. He doesn't want to be here. And even if he does, he's not good enough at reading defenses before the snap and after the snap where he's able to function with a bad OC and a bad head coach when it comes to offensive strategy. What did we expect to happen? Yes, Alan Lazard was a bad signing. But who knows what Alan Lazard would have been if Rodgers was here under Hackett's system with Rodgers. We have to be realistic here as fans and understand that when Rodgers went down, this season was over. And to be honest, I'm surprised we even won 5 games, literally, with this offense as bad as it was going to go. And it did go as bad as it was supposed to go. So with that said, when you look at Joe Douglas, just understand something. He didn't get the quarterback right. That set everything back, like it did with Caserio in Houston before C.J. Stroud came along, like it did with Brett Veach in many ways before Patrick Mahomes just magically saves the day, like it does with many things. I would love to see how the Eagles would be with Howie Roseman if Jalen Hurts didn't turn out to be a hit as a quarterback. You got to hit on the quarterback. And this whole offensive line argument, the offensive line where Rodgers wouldn't be able to protect for him. He'd do badly here. Oh, my God. What would he do here? I'll ask you one task for me. Do one thing for me. Go to any great quarterback of all time, top 15, top 20. Rodgers is probably top 10. Show me one year where they did below average versus the norm, versus the median, that they had a below average year because the O-line was bad. They might not have a great year. It might bite them in the behind in the playoffs for sure. 1 game or 2 games, whatever. But great quarterbacks know how to call blitzes. Great quarterbacks know how to shift offensive coverage. Great quarterbacks know what the defense is doing. Rodgers knows what guy coming on the line, faking blitzing or not, is going to actually blitz or not. He's been there, done that. It's not Zach Wilson. He hasn't been there, done that. Rodgers walks into the bodega. He knows what he's ordering. He's not looking around the top for a menu or asking them what they want. He's getting that bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup. Zach Wilson doesn't know what he wants to get. He might end up freaking getting a breakfast burrito, but this place isn't great at making breakfast burritos because it's what he's used to, and then he gets a shitty sandwich while Rodgers comes out with the great BEC. That's the difference between an Aaron Rodgers and a Zach Wilson when it comes to just running the offense. You can't compare. You just can't. And we're comparing the way the offense is running with Zach Wilson and the way the offense would have ran with Aaron Rodgers. And it's not Joe Douglas's fault. So if you think getting rid of Joe Douglas, that grass is going to be greener on the other side, oh boy. We saw how the grass was when we had the other schmucks here. You want John Idzik back here? You want McCagnon back here? Everyone was in love with Tannenbaum. Everyone's in love with Tannenbaum now, or was back then. We couldn't wait to get that guy out of town when it was time. We couldn't wait to get rid of a lot of guys here. Revisionist history. Joe Douglas right now has done a very good job in putting together a roster that was ready this year to make a run in the playoffs. And because the biggest asset and the most important player on our team went down, now we want to blame Douglas for it? He's not the problem. He's not the problem. You want the real problem? The OC's a problem, obviously. But with Rodgers here, he likes him, so you got to keep him. And the head coach, offensively, is a problem. So if you want to make a move, you get rid of Saleh. Again, your defense might take a hit, but if you want to make a real move, you get rid of Saleh, you get an offensive-minded coach, and then you might be able to do some more on offense. But how do you know what you would have had with Rodgers anyway, though? So if you get rid of Saleh, what's to say that Saleh here running that defense the way that they've been playing, still top 5, wouldn't have been able to do well enough on offense where we're going to win games? We're making that assessment with Zach Wilson and Nate Hackett? Come on. The Jets right now, plain and simple, have to just be patient. I hate saying it. I know we are the longest standing American sports team to make the playoffs. It's 13 years and running right now. But the GM, trust me, everybody, is not the problem. You got to give it another year. With that said, let me wrap this up. Again, Frankie V Podcast, we are out. I believe this is episode 4. I'll be back. I'll try to do these more often than not. One love. If you want to give me a shout out, just tweet me at Frankie Vitz. But yeah, everyone have a safe and happy holidays. And yeah, we'll be back soon. Peace.